It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, you know what, folks? Today I want to talk to Frank Cucco and Frank DeGeorge. It's been about 10 months since we had our last conversation. So I want to see where they're at, how 2022 panned out for them, and what do they see on the horizon for 2023. I want to start out with Frank DeGeorge. You know, Frank, you were implementing so many different softwares last time that we talked. It was kind of overwhelming. So I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that, because a lot of folks can't comprehend, you know, when you get to be a $200+ million company, what it takes to really run that from the infrastructure perspective. Right. So share a little bit about that. You know, what are the projects that you're taking on right now?
A few key ones. Where this year we've been experimenting with a new ERP system, which will be first rolled out with .security, and that'll set the foundation for the things we're doing at Impact. But we're still on the automate, so over half our revenues now comes from a business model that didn't really exist 7 or 8 years ago. Didn't really get its legs until 3 or 4 years ago. Yep. So that's created a lot of challenges for us, and so we want to improve on that. But we're lucky we have a kind of a sister company like Dot that we could trial and error it without any major business roadblocks. We've also done a bunch of sales tech enhancements. So about 2 years ago, we started rolling out Dynamics, replacing a old legacy CRM that was meant for the print industry. Since then, we've integrated it with ZoomInfo. We've integrated it with HubSpot. We use WalkMe. Our big rollout this year was around SalesLoft, which is a sales cadencing software. That's going to be game changing. We're just getting started with that. The first round of the implementation went pretty well. Now we're refining and enhancing that. It really allows our marketing and our sales and our content to be driven together, getting the right content to the customer at the right point and the sales cadence, whether it's an outbound or a customer or a prospect. So we can really tailor all that, as well as a number of other things. We've rolled out a new way for sales reps to track commissions, and a new way that we structure deals, so that we actually built ourselves. And probably
Base 99.
Well, the Base 99 is our
Deal
own.
Desk.
Yep, Deal Desk is that.
A couple softwares we built ourselves.
Yep. I was talking to Frank, and I said, now, how much money do you spend per salespeople, as an example?
Too much.
For the software. He said boatloads too much, but you should know the number. But what do you all spend for the software applications, just for the sales team?
So the ones I listed off so far, roughly between $500 and $550 per sales rep per month.
So 200 reps, you're talking $1 million, $1.2 million a year.
$1 million a year just for the licensing, not to mention a team that I run here, which is our developers and our business analysts, that probably is close to 30 people just focusing on internal development. A lot of it, you know, is on our Base 99 application, which we built from scratch, and our Deal Desk, which we built from scratch, but also integrating all those applications for the sales teams, working with Ashley, who I know you've spoken with Ashley on this show as well, from IOI, and our Chief Marketing Officer, Carly, trying to get all those teams working together to be integrated, using the data, doing things like SalesLoft now that we have a modern CRM to actually put those things out.
It takes significant investment to diversify into the new products, because over 50% of our revenues now come from services. So this is the first year, I think, that we rolled over that, so it's above 50%. So without putting all these things in place, there's no way we can get the company to where we need to be with what we ran a copier company with.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, you know, Frank, obviously it's your responsibility to make sure all this software integrates. So when do you say, okay, we're done? So you want to implement something. What's the process before you can't just start building something. You have to vet it first. And I mean,
you like that question?
Yeah. When do you say?
Sometimes we want to be done.
He's got a good answer for this too.
Just like, you know, because
I know the
if
answer.
I'm you, I'm thinking,
right.
you know, we're spending all this money, but you know, when's all this
when are we
going
going to slow down or be done with some of the stuff? And the answer is we are done with a lot of things, but we also re-look and refine. And I just did a webinar last week with John Evans and Carly and Patrick Layton about what we see coming up in 2023. For us, and I think from a lot of companies, we did a lot of change over the last 2 years, right? We've done a lot of investment in software and tools. I think that companies are use 2023 to reflect and refine and improve the things that they've done. Not necessarily go out and do all the things we did over the last 2 years. Right now it's time to really take a look, take a step back, refine. Did we hit the mark? Did we not? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's okay, we just keep iterating forward. And that's why I think Frank, I would say, gets frustrated. But no, the answer is sometimes we're not ever done, right?
That's his normal answer.
Yeah.
So you're never done. You're always evolving. You're always
Sure.
fine-tuning it. You're always trying to make it better.
Right.
Well, eventually you have the platforms that you can actually monetize and get some value out of it.
Right.
You're not spending tons of money
Yeah.
in manpower. Because that $500 you said for the software for the sales reps, that doesn't factor in any manpower to manage it.
That is
or to deal
literally
with it.
just the licensing and the things that we have, like Dynamics and Dynamics and SalesLoft are the two largest, obviously, and then the other ones are add-on. Although Zoom Info is expensive too, but we want good data. We want these reps to be able to do research. If we're going to spend the money to research and have this CRM that can hold it, then the next thing, which is SalesLoft, which is more of a system of action, which really keeps the reps laser focused on what types of activities they should be doing with content that's provided by marketing, with their own personalization, with new metrics that we can go into 2023 saying, these are the things that a rep needs to do to be successful, and here's the execution plan to do it.
So when you come up with these softwares, you're basing it off the fact that you've diversified. So I'm thinking like managed marketing services, you're not going to run it through eAutomate,
Can't.
the software that was built for.
Kind of we are right now,
Yeah.
but that's why we're looking at the ERP,
Yeah.
right?
So there obviously you have to do that as you go along. But where did you get the intellect to say, hey, we want this particular package to accomplish this?
Listening to the people that bring these things up. It's not just me, laying out all the decisions. I try and meet with the sales team. I meet with our finance team, and yes, there's a core set of things that we know we need. And if I go back and look at some of the presentations that I gave to the company, 2-3 years ago, we lay out some kind of plan. Say, okay, these are the things that we're going to go into. We know we need cadencing, which was really driven by Ashley and marketing, saying these are the things that this has to do. And then we find ways to make sure it's going to work properly.
I mean, he looked at multiple ERPs,
Yes.
and then we decided with D365. So that's the direction we're going. And like everything we do at Impact, he put it into DOT because it's a much smaller operation, because it's a brand new business, to refine it, run it, and make sure it works so we don't disrupt our main business.
Yes.
If everything goes well here, he's launching it, I believe, at the end of the year, right?
This week is my
So,
whole life.
and then next year we'll fine tune, refine it, and then in 2024 the plan is to put it into Impact. But we want it seamless. We don't need business disruption because we grow substantially, and to disrupt that wouldn't be good for Impact.
How do you handle that with the people? You got 800, 900 people now.
Yell at Frank twice a day.
Well, I always say that I don't like the term buy-in because I believe the people that work at Impact bought in the day that they were hired, that we're going to continuously innovate. And so
I think our people are used to change.
Yeah.
It's been kind of in our DNA that, hey, nothing's ever good enough, that we always want to refine, change, use the best technology out there. So they're used to it. I think a lot of other companies, it would be much harder because they're used to a specific way, and they didn't have a partners that constantly want to change to get better and get bigger. So here, I don't really think it's a problem. There's always hiccups, and people complain about, hey, this isn't working the way this or that, but Frank always comes through and gets it right. And the communication to the employees now is excellent. Every day I see an email coming out from Frank explaining what we're doing it, why we're doing it, what the problems are, if there's problems, and how we're addressing to fix it. So if you have that communication, it works. If you just are silent and you're having problems, then people don't like that.
Or when you listen to problems, like you want to help solve them, but don't have any action or don't have any communication about that, that's even worse. Because then they think you're going to take your feedback and then you're just ignoring it. So I agree. Communication, it's tricky. You change too much too fast, you stress people out. You change too little too slow, then our business gets stressed out because we don't have the tools that we need. So it's a balancing act. Like I said, we've done a lot, but overall, all the employees at Impact that are part of these changes have been really positive.
Do you set up task force? So if you're going to do something with the sales that impacts the sales team, are they part of that process?
Yeah, when we need them and we want their voice as far as how something should work or what their challenges are that we're trying to solve, 100%. We have a sales operations team that helps us with that too. That is kind of the voice of the sales team on these platforms to help refine and support and maintain them, and then bring us ideas constantly so we can constantly try and improve it.
What would you suggest to some of the smaller dealers that obviously don't have the bandwidth that Impact does, but there are professionals that can help them? Number one, seek professional help, I guess I always say. But, but a lot of folks, I think they do it backwards. When you listen to them in the marketplace, they're talking about, hey, we got to go build this elaborate ERP system, if you will, because we want to sell this. And And I always say, well, why don't you just go sell that, because that has some way to do it. There's processes today that can do that. And then when you get to a point where the revenue exceeds 50% of your core deliverable, which is, in your case, is what happened, then you can kind of make the change. Do you think that's a fair assessment what people should be doing?
That's what we did. I mean, we were small, so we started out with zero revenue, and now we're where we're at. But it's been an evolution through driving revenue and then putting, actually reinvesting in the company and putting in these things, because you know what, we may be 100 million and now we're 180 million, but our goal isn't that. Our goal is 500 million and then beyond. So the question is, do the partners want to get to 500 million or not? And if we do want to get there, which we all agree on, what do we need to put in place to drive that revenue to be able to do that? And then obviously we go to Frank and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Our systems don't work. Research it, tell us what the deal is, figure it out, get it down to one, bring it to us and tell us the costs. And then we decide, hey, is it worth investing in that today, or do we have to wait?
Well, I said it before when we talked, that the one thing you can, it's just relevant everywhere you go at Impact, is the discipline.
Yeah.
But I think the discipline eventually pays off, because when you go from the 250 million to the 500 million, you spent a lot of investment to get to the 250 that you can capitalize to the next.
That's really, you hit the nail on the head, because that's what we're doing now. We spent a lot of money over the pandemic, tens of millions of dollars, building these buildings, putting in the infrastructure to be able to get to the next rung on the ladder. So now in 2023, 4, and 5, we're stabilizing the company, and now we're just going to push net income, because everything, our foundation's in place now to double our revenues without really making investments. We've made them already.
Sure. Well, the pressure's on now. And now you're dabbling in e-commerce, so we've had that conversation this morning.
That's something we're kicking off probably early next year. We'll be, again, experimenting first, seeing how it goes. I know we're not going to hit the mark the first time on that, but it's relatively easy to put out and get customers' first reaction, and kind of learn from it. So
develop it as you go.
I mean, we want to do e-commerce simply to get our salespeople not to have to sell those type of products, that they just drive that customer to our internet site. The customer does 2 or 3 clicks, boom, and they get it just like an Amazon. And then our salespeople, who are getting more and more expensive, are going in and driving deals in IT and cyber, which you saw today, those assessments, $65,000, or the deal we got last Friday, which you know about, our biggest deal in company history, $6 million deal. Those are the deals we want our salespeople concentrating on, not a printer for $300 where they make no money and then quit.
Yeah, and I don't think your salespeople are complaining about someone getting commission on a $300 printer, so that's another thing, calling the buy-in, if you will.
Well, we're going to make it seamless. They'll still get commissions on it, but they won't have to
They're
touch
not
the
worried
product.
about it.
It'll go right to the warehouse. It'll go right to the customer. Our service force will go install it, train on it, and they don't have to do anything, and they still are going to get paid on it.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I can't wait to see how that progresses. Okay, Frank, 2022 is just about over. We got 10 days. So what was the worst challenge you had in 2022?
I mean, 2022 for Impact, the worst challenge was we grew substantially. So we grew $40 million this year, which is big. That costs a lot of money to grow like that. So, I think our biggest challenge was cash pressure on the company. Our capital loans with the bank and whatnot to reinvest and whatnot, we had no additional capital ever that we asked for over the last 5 years. Great. So I think that put a lot of pressure on the company. So now we're solving that. And it's also because of the transition, which is good for dealers to know. When you're going from a hardware-based company and you're getting all that money up front to an MRR model where you're getting 1/60th of it, that's a very hard transition to make. So, I think that's something to really keep your eye on, is cash flow into the company and getting that MRR pool of money to a point where it covers everything that you do.
Well, when we talked 10 months ago, you had other $1 million deals. And my thinking is that, if you could do a $6 million deal, you'll do a $12 million deal. Eventually, you'll do a $20 million deal, and on top of that, you'll continue to do the 6 and the 1 and the 2. So that's a great congratulations.
I mean, that record was broken 3 times this year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we have a $16 million deal that we've been working on for well over a year. That's getting close. So they're out there all day long, and Impact never did a $1 million deal for 20 years. Now we do $1 million deals every week in the IT space. It's a great business.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you see coming ahead in 2023? Biggest challenge?
I mean, I told you, for us, it's that cash flow, keeping cash flow, keep building our base of MRR, which is substantial now. It's about 240 or 45 million owed to us now. Our goal is to double that amount of money. So we're basically doing a lot of this stuff in-house now. So, but what I see ahead is just growth of the company with higher net income. So we have a net income goal to get to in the next 2 years of 10%. So that's our goal. We want to keep it there because we think anything more than that, you're not investing back into the company.
And you've been investing heavily in the company, so
everything.
You've done great with that, which is a testament to what we're sitting in here today. So that's pretty interesting. Do you see any challenges based on outside of impact that could impact, if you will? I mean, a lot of people talk about economy and recession and this and that, but I think that no matter what people are going to spend in the IT space, they're definitely going to spend in the cyber space because they have to. It's mission critical. I think these are things, it doesn't matter what the economy is, they're going to spend on those things. I mean, other kinds of products that are commodities, they can do without those things. But things that run your company, things that make you profitable and even sustainable and being able to exist, they're going to spend money on. So I'm not really worried about that. Well, it goes back to eating your own dog food. You hear a company is willing to spend $1 million a year for the software for their sales team, so you understand the importance of it, which probably translate out in the marketplace when you're talking to customers. And so obviously people are going to have to, and we're seeing more dollars spent on software, and eventually AI and RPA technologies and all that stuff.
Yeah, because they're putting in more softwares and whatnot, and then there's less labor, and labor's expensive, But that's one of the things for us is as we grow and grow, we need more people. So, if there's a recession and there's a lot of layoffs right now, that's a benefit to Impact,
especially
because
the tech sector.
We can get people now, and it was very difficult to get people before. Seriously,
year 18 months.
So, and it's really loosened up in like the last 6 months. Especially tech people, they're hard to find, hard to get, and for us it's a benefit. I mean, it's unfortunate that that's happening, but it is a benefit.
How is it for you, Frank, hiring for your team? And how many people are on your team right now?
I mean, our dev team probably has 25 or so, but it's broken out. We have devs, we have business analysts, we have a team that does just data. So, we go and we find good, solid, entry-level people, and we develop them. So that team is probably, I don't know, how long has Horst been with us? Maybe 6 years, 5 years, maybe?
He manages them all.
Yeah, so that's he's a director over all those teams. So now we have guys that have been with us for that amount of time, 5-6 years. So those guys are helping us train the next round of people that are coming up. So it's challenging, but I would say specifically not as challenging as what we did with like the field network engineers and people that are 5-10 years experience that we were trying to get because we needed that talent urgently as that team grew. On our team internally, we could work with them and train them, develop them, help them learn our way of doing things and our development processes and our business processes, and that seemed to work out for that team in particular.
Obviously, you're bringing in quality people because you're delivering a quality product to the marketplace. You wouldn't be getting $6 million deals.
It's important to do that because we sell 6 main products, and really if you don't do a good job in one of them, you're not doing any of them. You're out of the account, and then they're not going to buy any of those things. So everything we do, we got to hit the mark. We got to hit the expectations of the customer. So it's important to have people who know what they're doing.
Well, Frank, I want to ask you this because the managed marketing thing is obviously so far from the realm of the peers that we grew up with in the business, right? So just give us a quick overshot of that. I mean, how is that going? I mean, you've been doing it now for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough road. So it was like a lot of things Impact does. We started it. It's not the most successful thing in the world. We regrouped, redid it, retooled it, and now we're on the right track and moving ahead, and we're getting much larger deals in there. So, I mean, I think that's an important thing to bring up is people give up too easy. Like they have a few problems, lose some money, and they're like freaked out. It's like you have to adjust and then move forward if the plan is good and you see the vision of that. And that's what we did. So now it's successful. I think we have 120 people in that marketing department, all new leadership over the last year or so. And now it's going the right direction, and we're getting much bigger deals, 25, 35,000 a month in MRR. We learned our lesson about doing $2,000 a month or $3,000 a
one-offs.
month. You can't make
Small
any money
deals.
doing that.
It's amazing.
So that's kind of how we started, and we had to readjust. Kind of like with IT, where it was a break-fix model, and we weren't successful at that. We had to regroup, brought in Patrick, and now it's a huge success. I think he's going to do $80 million this year or more.
So when are we going to see Impact doing CPA, business as a service?
That's a great idea that you had, which will really be a differentiator in the market, and it's a good idea.
I think there's something there. I mean, you guys could obviously pull it off.
You got to talk to our CFO. He won't like that. He wants me to rest for a few years.
You know, Frank, you brought something up, and I want to put my spin on that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the industry it's too easy to promote the good guy in the company that maybe grew up in the print business, and maybe they're the VP of sales or whatever, and you want to put them in charge of this IT services venue or whatever this other diversification is. And the problem with that is, as soon as there is a hiccup or there's a problem, it's so easy to run back to what you're comfortable with.
Right.
And when you talk about the managed market, and I met the team and Aaron and all those folks down there and Anthony, and you can tell that they're all marketing professionals. That's really where they're coming from for the most part.
Right.
And I think that probably is the key to the success, just like in your IT business or your ERP business. So if you keep doing that, you'll be fine. Because I agree with you. We're too quick to give up, throw in the flag, and most of that's because the leadership's not passionate enough to push it.
Right. They have to be bought in, and they got to be willing to take some pain, because doing these things are painful not only for me, but for the employees and financially and so on and so forth. You've got to, want really to move the company forward and just be all in on it and do whatever it takes to make it work. And it's never really works right the first time. It's just the way it is. You always have to refine and retool it. And I think that's where a lot of people miss out on the real opportunities we have.
Well, you know what? It can be done, I say, but
Yeah.
it's not easy. There's no easy button.
Right, exactly.
And
Well, Patrick Clay is an expert on that. I mean, bringing him in to reset that and take that, he knew how to run those teams. He knew what to look for. He knew the people he needed. He knew how to challenge those people and build it up for success. And that's the same thing we did with managed marketing.
Yeah, any of these departments that are successful, it's all about the people. I mean, Impact can spend a fortune on, and I say it all the time, infrastructure, technology, all this great stuff. But if you don't have the leaders and the employees that really want to do it and are excited about it, you can forget about it being successful.
Well, that's a good point, and we know you guys are doing great. Well, I can't wait to visit with you again in a few months, because I love the story of Impact. Obviously, people know I'm an Impact fan, but folks, when you look at something in the marketplace that's super successful, well, I like to brag about success. And Frank and his team and the whole Impact story is a great story, and I love sharing it. Because Frank, everybody knows this: status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and we'll see y'all later.